Hello and welcome to the Brass Junkies. I just remembered Lance is laughing a lot, as is world-renowned trombonist and technophobe. No, technologist. Christopher Bill. Technologist Christopher Bill. We talked about how I'm just going to do the intro with Chris on the line, and then I was about to drop right into the interview, so I breathed in, and then I was like, no, wait, what do I say? I have to say hello, and then Lance started laughing because I was holding my breath for 4 seconds.
And Chris went,
Anyways, welcome to the Brass Junkies. I am your host, Andrew Hitz, and I am joined by my co-host, Lance LaDuke. Lance, I find it very, very soothing that Lance is still a jackass, even though we are both under, as anyone listening is under, like an unimaginable amount of stress right now, but he's still a jackass, and I'm finding that soothing. So,
thank you.
How are you, jackass?
I feel highly sanitized.
I had never used any kind of moisturizer in my life. Like, I just have never used it. And my hands looked like, I looked down at them, it was about a week ago, and I had cracks with like a little dried blood on my knuckles. It looked like I had beaten the crap out of somebody at a bar the night before. And I was like, no, I was just watching Netflix on my couch. So I've started to use a moisturizer. So there you go. Our guest today is Christopher Bill. Christopher, how are you?
I'm normal, probably more normal than anybody else.
I'm the most normal person I ever met.
Yeah,
I don't know anybody more normal than me.
My life has changed. I mean, honestly, I now have more time to do the stuff that I was planning on not having enough time to do. So
it's going to be interesting to see, because I think everybody is facing that right now, and it will be interesting to see how many people come out the other side of this having done a lot, and how many come out the other side having done absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that depends on the number of 5-year-olds.
That's true.
Yeah, that's
fair.
I usually record these when the family isn't home. As I just said right before we went on, it sounds like there's like a herd of antelope, and someone's going to email because it's probably not called a herd. Whatever, I don't care. A lot of antelope up, and now Mr. Internet there. Christopher Bill is Googling it. A gaggle.
A pod.
It's a herd.
A herd. I was going to guess maybe it was a junk of antelope, something. And it's just one 5-year-old who is upstairs losing his mind. He's being a trooper. But I've got the next 2 episodes of The Entrepreneurial Musician are already planned out and have graphics, and I was going to release one of them tomorrow. But I think I might actually contact our partner at Pedal Note Media, Will Houchin, who does my graphics, since he's got a lot of free time on his hands right now, about maybe changing and adding one about this very topic, which is just that I'm trying to allow myself time to be productive, but also to like process. It's like I can't, even if I was single and had no 5-year-old, I would not be able right now to be working for 10 hours a day. And if you can be, whoever you are listening, like, good for you, but like, I'm not in a mental place where I can do that right now. I'm just kind of trying to, and I'm also trying to toe the line between staying informed and I read one of the, and I'm very glad I read it, and I shared it with a bunch of people, but I read one of the nightmare fuel Twitter threads from an Italian ER doctor maybe 4 or 5 days ago, and I read it right before bed, and then and you know, it's weird, you guys are never going to believe this, I could not fall asleep.
Wow.
I couldn't
imagine that.
I know, right? I mean, I couldn't, and I can even read politics and get mad and then go right to bed. But this was different. I never have trouble falling asleep. I couldn't fall asleep, like, at all. Like, my mind was racing, and not about like oh crap, that recital's in 2 weeks, and I keep putting off practicing that one cadenza. No, this was important stuff, and I couldn't shut my brain off. So I'm trying to toe that line between keeping myself healthy, getting the family in the right place. Well, I can't get the family in any kind of a place, but helping us collectively to get there and being productive with this kind of gift that's been given to us, if you look at it that way. So,
how much?
All right, well,
Chris, are you? How much bread are you losing? This is maybe too personal of a question, but you're like, I know I had a couple of $1,000 bucks Yeah. I was supposed to be on the road this week, which isn't a thing I do that much anymore, and so I don't count on that bread.
Sure.
It was, but so for an itinerant artist such as yourself,
yeah.
What's that like?
Here's the weird bit about my life. I make more money not traveling than I do traveling most of the time. There are a couple good gigs here and there, but typically if I'm sitting at home making videos and scheming and coming up with educational content and getting my name out there more and more by doing those things, there's more bread coming in because of those ideas than all the money it takes to, as you both know, to like park at the airport and pay for flights and hotels and food all over on the road. Like that all basically, chips away at the money you actually take home. And so now I'm exhausted and have worked, and I get home, and now I just have to do all that work that I was going to do at home all crammed into a few days. So it's really, really important for me to get out there for so many reasons, just my sanity being one of them. But as far as the bread goes, like, yeah, there's a bunch of money I was expecting to have, maybe, I don't know, $5,000-$6,000 over the course of the next 2 months. But I would imagine I'll make more actually just being home. I mean, who knows who's going to actually spend money on this stuff, but I assume the ad companies aren't going to stop running their ads when more people are watching their ads than ever in history. So
right.
I'm one of those weird people that it's like, oh, I made a career remotely online, and now everybody has to sit home and watch videos. Oh, okay. Let's see what happens. Like, all of a sudden I'm important. Like, when I was a hobby, now I'm like, okay, now this is literally going to keep people sane. So, yeah.
To be clear, you said that. We didn't, but yeah.
I'm just saying.
Sure.
Well, I know there's a friend of all of ours that, and I haven't heard it from this person, but I had it on good authority from a person they're out like over 20 grand in appearances so far.
I mean,
because I don't
have
confirmation, so I don't want to say it, but it doesn't seem like a shocking number when I tell you who it is.
No, I was hanging out with a friend, Peter Steiner. You guys run into him at all?
That name sounds familiar.
He's a great trombonist. He was in the Tchaikovsky competition, got to the finals this year. That Italian guy. His family's from the area that is hardest hit, and like he was traveling in the U.S. and he's been touring nonstop, and they just had to fly back home to Vienna and stop after. I think they were going to be here for another 2 months. So, that's how it goes. But then also everybody understands. That's the other part where like I had one thing that wasn't canceled because it was one of my, and it's just like I call them. I'm like, so I'm not coming, and they're like, yeah, okay,
yeah,
that kind of thing. It's just like there's no more of that. But I have to do that because this, because that, because that. It just kind of all is like, all right, nothing's normal, so do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I mean, New York's crazy right now. Broadway just stopped running shows a couple days ago, and it's just kind of like
for a full month. Yeah, if not longer.
Yeah, New York's a mess. It's funny because like there's that side of it, and then there's also just the New Yorkiness of it, where like literally there's like the Starbucks worker is still like going to work, and you're like, what are you doing? Like they're like, it's New York. It's not gonna get us. I'm like, it already has. What are you doing?
Yeah. If there had been like, let me think about how I'm going to put this, Lance.
Okay, I'll wait here.
If there had been some firm action taken
I know
early,
where you're going.
then I mean, how many people living in the New York City area who are Starbucks baristas can afford to even miss 1 week of work, let alone, I mean, like we're talking like where are they going to live? What are they going to use to eat? I mean, I get it. But the problem is that since this has the potential to just make things longer and worse, and so it's and I hope I'm wrong of where I think this is headed. I hope I'm wrong, but yeah, it's not good.
Well, think back, Andrew. What was it? 7 years ago, we were in Boston Brass. If we were in like those guys, have got to be struggling right now.
And this is prime time for the season too. I mean, because
shut the season down 3 months early is rough when you make
because the
bread
summer
in
is
8
not
months,
summer is not non-existent for bread, but it's a totally different season. And September usually takes a little while to ramp up. Like the end of August, there's a full month there where almost nothing happens, and then between Christmas and the middle of January, nothing happens. And usually the middle of May to the middle of June nothing happen. So there's a good 3 months out of the year where there's pretty much no gigs. It's kind of split up into like a few different chunks. But then that leaves 9 months. I mean, this is like a third of the income, like if it's a few months it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, I think we're all going to have to remember what it was like to be in college.
Yeah.
For a little bit. Oh yeah. Like, I mean, I assume pretty much any musician, as long as they didn't grow up with a ton of money, like, knows what it's like. And also knows that it's not the end of the world. Like, we did it. Not with a 5-year-old, but
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I think we are more equipped to kind of just like hunker down and like, okay, I got some beans, got some rice.
Yeah.
Like, let's
as
learn how
long
to make
as they
some bread.
can pay their rent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which is
rent and food. I mean, like I said, like right after college, that vibe, rent and food. Hey, we made it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I realize that that this is going to expose my privilege, but like I almost never prepay hotel rooms because I need the flexibility to be able to cancel it.
Sure.
And granted, that means I don't save 10%. And if you're gonna spend $10,000 on hotels in a year, then that's like $1,000. That's a lot of money, But I've seen posts of people who prepaid for hotels for for another like 6-week tour, and they're just out all of that. And if it's truly a 6-week tour, then that's like 42 times. I mean, that's like another like $4,000 that they've already spent. That's just gone. And we experienced a little bit of this in Boston Brass before Lance was in, because our former manager stole money from she was like embezzling from allegedly / definitely was embezzling money from the I think when you say / definitely, that I think legally that maybe nullifies what you say before.
I think
so. We'll just say allegedly, and don't one of you say / definitely, please, but allegedly
/
definitely.
There we go. We just split up the legal burden amongst 3 of us. That's great. And our guest is the one who said definitely. It's perfect. He's the
I
one
don't even know what you're about to say.
There,
even better. And that'll do it for another episode of.
Yep, exactly. And you were all there when Christopher Bill's career came to a screeching halt. He now makes videos for no one on his imaginary camera in prison. No, she embezzled from the pension fund from our management, and like we at one point, Boston Brass was owed over $30,000, and it was just like all of a sudden we stopped getting paid. But we were still the way that the Boston Brass thing when we left, and I'm guessing it's the same way now, is that we would pay to get ourselves to these gigs all the time. And so we always pay for the plane flights ourselves, because some of us are. I mean, if the gig was in D.C., then I had no travel expenses, and Chris Castellano's coming from Vegas at the time. He could fly first class. He could charter a helicopter if he wanted to. It's like, whatever. You got to get yourself to the gig, and then, and then we rent cars together or whatever. But yeah, we were all out like $6,000, and then didn't have money to be able to get to the next gigs. Like once, I mean, it was bad. And this is that times, exponential. I mean, because we have no idea how long this is going to go. I mean, but I just saying that we experienced it a little bit, and we were making a great living. But I was like, I was young at that point. I was like 26, and I had no nest egg. Every time I got a huge check from Boston Brass, I would go to New York City and eat amazing sushi, and it was. I was living like a king. So, and paying my bills no problem. But then all of a sudden, there was no safety net, and it was scary. And there are a lot of people, to be clear, that have no safety net out of necessity, not because they were being jackasses and going to New York City to hang out with, with buddies or eating omakases in, places that they don't have any business going to. So, yeah, my heart goes out to anybody who's in that situation, who's alone, and anybody who's in that situation who has a family. Yeah, I'm checking all those boxes, and I'm terrified still about what's potentially coming. It's scary times. So on that note, let's let's do some toilet humor, and let's do the
Speaking
thing.
of, Speaking of toilet humor, so there's this run on toilet paper, right?
That's a bad choice of words there.
Okay, it's all bad. I bought a bidet attachment to my toilet 3 years ago.
Yeah, dude.
And they're called tushy towels. These bamboo.
That was Lance's nickname in college.
Yeah, I should remember that.
Yeah. I still have a shirt.
I haven't used toilet paper in my house in like 3 years.
Oh.
And
is it warm water or cold water?
All right, good question.
Thank you.
It has both, but you can get a cheaper option that just has cold water, just hooks into the main line of the toilet. But the warm water one has to hook into the faucet of the sink.
Yeah.
But
the cheaper one, there's just a kid jumps in the bathroom with a super soaker.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, you don't need toilet paper no matter what, but you do need the little towels. I would recommend.
This is not the first time that someone who tuned into this episode hoping to get some useful tips on
the headline is going to be all
education.
About useful tips. Yeah. Well,
maybe I'll just say useful tips, but I will keep I'll keep the subject matter out because that's useful. I mean, that is definitely useful.
I'm telling you, like I've bought I think two rolls of toilet paper for guests in 3 years, and then all these people are running. I'm like, what are you guys up to? Like, you don't even know. And it's better and it's safer and it's great. I mean, you ever have spicy food?
My friend Aaron Rosenthal has a couple of Toto Japanese toilets that have like control panels on them, and oh yeah, man, it's like hot, warm, cool, cold, like front, back, like you can air dry.
Does it air dry?
It's like
air dry,
oh yeah. Oh, it's like oh man, this thing is like
okay.
This thing is like the Porsche of toilets. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So,
but like you don't even.
I always enjoy visiting him.
$60. Mine was $60.
Yeah,
I definitely would have spent more on toilet paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there you go.
Just saying.
Okay. So you all should have bought a bidet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
back in
and I'm
back
guessing
in
they still have stock of those bidet attachments. That's all. Like
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you just have to install it yourself. Or
gotta think outside.
Desperate times.
So speaking of bidets, we'd like to thank Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for the Press Junkies.
The component bidets.
Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba. That's my best one yet, including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model tuba mouthpiece and the Lance LaDuke Model euphonium mouthpiece. By the way, that segue is a good way to lose a sponsor unless you were their college roommate. Find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So let's get to, at the 19-minute mark, or almost 19 minutes, I guess we were going for a little bit before we hit record. Let us talk about this incredible resource that our friend Christopher Bill put together, which is the Christopher Bill Guide to Remote Music Education. This thing, how many times has this thing been shared on Facebook in the last 72 hours?
Oh, it's nutty. So I was
hundreds, right?
Yeah, easily. So I think over 10,000 people have seen it.
Wow.
But that was when I checked yesterday, so it could be well over that now. Wow. It's
he had to set an alarm to make sure that he was up in time for our interview at 2 p.m. So yeah. There's more to the story, but why ruin a good joke? So anyway,
it's fair.
You never let the truth get in the way of a good joke. So.
That's how we do it. All right.
Tell us about this thing. When did you put this together?
So I was recording my new album in Phoenix, and all last week, So I was kind of just doing my thing, and the world was ending around us. But we're like, let's make some songs, and I got to this point where I'm like, okay, I think I have these tools that music educators need right now. It says 692 shares right now on the original post, but there are others that have hundreds as well. The next one is 367 that somebody else shared. So yeah, and that all happened in like the first day. And so I basically at the studio, I was talking to Britt Lash. You guys know her at all?
Mm-mm.
Yes.
Bowling Green, awesome trombonist.
Yeah,
Probably
she's
the
great.
most prepared human being I've ever seen for a recital.
I've mainly only seen her name written down, and I didn't recognize when you said Brit at first because it's short for Brittany. But anyway, yes, absolutely, she's great.
So I was texting her the night before saying just kind of like all of a sudden these schools are closing, and I literally do these multi-track videos for groups. Like, don't you think people would want that right now? And she's like, yeah, but there's literally no budgets. Like, everybody's freaking out. And I'm like, okay, let me see how I could word this. And so in the morning, I typed out this Facebook post that was like, listen, if you have a budget, great, contact me. If not, and you have questions, let me know. Oh boy, that was the wrong thing to say, because I had just hundreds of people like, yeah, let me take you up on that. And so I was like, okay, let me sit down and write this stuff out. And so that's when I started writing this thing, and just started with, like one-on-one, just FaceTime kind of things, pros and cons of all the different software that I know about. And then from there, had some, traditional ideas of how we can take stuff that usually is done in a classroom for music education and turn it to the digital world. And then the things that go on in my mind when I think about, okay, what are the other things that we do, like a master class or things like that I know about software that could potentially get us to that space. But they might not. So non-traditional ideas is what I called that. And then I put that up and said, okay, for all you who have been contacting me asking, follow-up questions and stuff, here's a document. Please share it with everybody. It's open. This post is open on Facebook, so you can share it with anybody. And then, yeah, literally tens of thousands of music educators, I assume music educators, have seen it now. People who aren't music educators are sharing it, saying, hey, music teachers that are friends of mine, check this out. Mm-hmm. And it's been pretty nutty. And then the next day, after thousands of people had seen it, I'm going, there's that old trope of like, if you do something well, never do it for free. And here I am, like,
yeah,
but
I
was
think
this a mistake?
I doubt it. I bet this is gonna. Well, first of all, it was just a really awesome altruistic thing that you did, and I mean, from a teacher standpoint, and as an artist, I really appreciate it. And the other thing is, I shared it. I had two different people send it to me, and then I forwarded it to my boss at Carnegie Mellon in the School of Music. And usually when I'm texting, he and I'll text back and forth, and I didn't hear anything from him. Then I opened my email, and he had forwarded the link to the entire School of Music faculty and staff. So it was already spreading from there, which is how you ended up getting in contact with Monica Eunice. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it's an incredible gift, and I have a feeling that this is going to pay big dividends for you. In ways that you might not even know that it's how something came your way, just because it was such a incredible gift. I mean, and
we
weren't
going to have him back on. We weren't going to have him back on, and here he is. So he's already getting gifts.
That's true. That's true. I mean,
it's because we record it too, and he's always sleeping. Then we knew that was going to be a problem.
Lance's last night, actually, this is funny. I messaged him last night and was like, hey man, you in for doing, talking about this on Brass Junkies sometime tomorrow? And he wrote back immediately like, hell yeah. This was at like 10:45 PM. And I said, I'm going to have to check with Lance tomorrow because he's old and I guarantee you he's asleep.
He was.
So there we go. We could just record our parts when we're awake and then squish them together and hope they make sense.
It's a good idea.
So anyway, it just kind of, I was just thinking about that today, like the reach, right?
Yeah.
Like that you would get if I had somebody pay for this before they knew it was useful or any of that. Like, first of all, it seems shady in this kind of time. And second of all, it's kind of like that thing of like, oh yeah, no, the gig doesn't pay, but tons of exposure. And it's like, okay. But now I'm just like, if I'm the one making that decision, it feels a lot better to be like, okay, like at least other people aren't making money off of this, like that kind of thing. And that's also why like there's only 2 things on the whole list that are paid. There's like Smart Music, and there's Music First. There's another one on there, Note Flight, Learn. They're all like free for the next 30 days at least. Like I don't want this to be something that like people are using to market their companies and stuff, even if that's, as long as they're free, I'm cool with it.
I also think this is, Andrew and I have been prattling on about Seth Godin forever. And the name now is sort of unfortunate, but one of the things that Seth Godin championed a while ago was this. He said unleashing the idea virus, and the notion of the idea virus was to spread. If you have an idea, if you have some sort of value, then the thing that you can best do with it is to get it out into as many brains as possible. And if there was any friction in there, then there would have been a stumbling block. If it wasn't so easily shared on a Google Doc, if you had charged a nickel for it, it would have been just enough to slow it down. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I went through it like item by item, and I'm still sort of wrestling with how I'm going to do some of the things at Carnegie Mellon starting this week, and I'm going to use some of the platforms that you suggested there that I sort of forgot about or didn't really think about using in that way. And it's really, I can't say enough positive things about it, and how much I appreciate it. I think it's going to be you put a mark on the world in a really, really powerful way here. I mean, it's a dopey podcast about dopey stuff, but this is serious, and it is a way for people to cope. And the way we cope as artists is we make music and we teach and we communicate. And if we can't do that, then we're sunk. Yeah. And if we can do it better because of a thing that you did, well, man, hats off. Like that's an incredible gift that you gave the world.
Amen.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, that was the goal, and it was fun to put together because, like, as I put all the different softwares down and stuff, I'm going, I'm doing research to figure out what the other stuff that I might not know about is, and kind of getting creative with it. But yeah, the idea of it is really it's a starting place to say like, okay, what are you trying to do, and how can we make that happen? And people are still emailing me saying with follow-up questions. People want to put together the multi-track videos, and so Hitz, I just you clicked on the link before we started here. I started a whole other thing that's how to multi-track and create those videos, which is really not user friendly. I mean, you have to learn how to do everything, but if somebody really wants to do it, if you got the time. And
I was just gonna say, this is the time to do some deep dives on stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's why this is with all deference to how freaking serious this is for everybody. But if the boxes happen to be checked today or tomorrow, then the ability to do a deep dive into something is can be a gift. And it's I was talking before, I don't think I said this on the podcast, but like my wife, who's amazing, who's a middle school band director, her assessment was supposed to be yesterday and Friday, and of course got canceled. She is going through and using this opportunity with my son to she and him sorted through all of his books, and he got a big stack of them that he's going to donate once we are able to because he doesn't read them anymore. And then he went through his toys, and we're going through his clothes, and we're just kind of going through the whole house. But yeah, when we can do that professionally as well, it's like if you don't know anything about video editing, then like, and you've always wanted to start, then like, geez, like now's the time, right? Yeah. You could potentially have like an hour or 5, but you could have an hour a day to work on this like every day for the next. I fear it's a lot longer than some people think. Yeah, that's a gift. If you're able, again, it's like the mental health thing is pretty serious. Yeah. In these times, but I also think that, like Lance just said, you're giving the world a gift in the sense that you're you're giving us like the sometimes if I don't know anything about video editing, it can be really intimidating to like search on YouTube for like tips on video editing because there's like 500 videos that pop up. You know? And that's out of like 500,000 that are there. I mean, I'm not talking about the ones that have like 8 views. I'm talking like there's like 500 that have thousands of views. And it can be a hard place to even start. And so the fact that you kind of you put these dots really close together in a very easily digested way, and you know, it's a little nudge down that path where we can, it's good stuff.
I mean, the other thing I think about, not with this one. With this one, I really think anybody could do most of this stuff if they have the hardware to do it. The software isn't super difficult to use unless you're really trying to do something a little bit more out of the ordinary with it. But when I was doing the other document of like how I multi-track and the step-by-step with that, there was a part of me that kind of had this twinkle in my eye like, oh, you think this is so easy? Like, all right, you're going to see how much work I actually
well, that's just it.
You know?
Well, it's the same, you know, I this is the same thing if when people listen to the show to figure out how do I get a gig in an orchestra. Well, it's pretty straightforward. And it's a crap ton of work. Yeah. It's like very simple, though. You do these things in this order, and you meet with these people. Go ahead. Like, maybe tomorrow.
I once had a Facebook post that said that a professional is someone. This was intentionally oversimplified, but a professional is someone who can play with their best sound possible. At any dynamic level in any register, which is really difficult, something like that. It was, I'm sure, more eloquently put than that, I'm sure. But Rex Martin, my teacher at Northwestern, who is still my teacher, even though he has not been paid to be my teacher for 23 years, he closed the Facebook thread when he just said, actually, Andrew, it's not difficult. It just takes an insane amount of work. That was it. I literally replied to his comment like the thread is closed, like, you know, I mean, which you can't obviously close a thread on Facebook without deleting it. I was like, everyone can stop commenting because it's true. It's actually not that hard if you just spend years and years and years and years and years of intentional work in a feedback loop and all that stuff. It's not just miles driven. And I'm sure, I mean, Jim Nova does a good job of all the multi-tracking, so it can't be that hard, but I'll, you know, but, you know, but other than that, your point seems valid. So it's like the whole time I'm thinking, but Jim, like, this can't be as hard as Christopher's making this sound. But
I'm going to point out, he doesn't do a video aspect.
Oh, see that?
Fight.
Fight.
I mean, it's literally like I do the whole audio editing, and it's a mountain of work, and he does it in a slightly different way, which I think is even more tedious. Like, because he won't move on like a note unless he plays it perfectly. And
I remember him talking about that, about how like chords have to be exactly locked in, and if it's not exactly, and then you build on top of that, you got to like. It's like a maze, right? Or it's like a Sudoku puzzle, right? Where you like make a mistake, you got to backtrack if you can figure out what the mistakes were. Yeah.
Yeah. So he has a very methodical way of doing that. But whatever, we have two different versions of that, but we end up with a good product, and like that's the audio, and then I start over basically, and now import all the videos in, and you know, match them up to the audio, and basically have to do the exact same thing over again now with the video aspect. So for people who are thinking about this, definitely I recommend starting with an audio only project. Just
so you're lip syncing in the video, so you're actually like Milli Vanilli, except you are also doing the singing.
Not quite. So I take a video of like a first good take, and then I save that, and so you will see me make mistakes, but I promise you will rarely hear me make a mistake.
I don't know what this says about me, but I just had to look up how to spell Milli Vanilli to put it into the show notes.
I spelled antelope wrong earlier, and I didn't tell you guys, so
blame it on the rain, Lance.
So one of the show notes may or may not be Trombone overdub deathmatch, Jim Nova versus Christopher Bill.
Hey, I'm down.
So while we're on Jim Nova, we're going to have Lance go with our Pappert people spot, and then I'm going to jump into the second half of your guide to remote music education, and we can talk about some of that stuff.
So thank you, Pappert people. The Mary Pappert School of Music at Duquesne University is they're facing the same fate that we are right now. And so if you go to the link in the show notes below, you'll be taken to a page to find out all of the wonderful professors who are teaching at that school and find out who you could be taking online lessons from right now, and it's a pretty impressive list. So thank you to them for being such a wonderful sponsor, and very, very special thanks to Jim, Benite, or Bidet Nova for making it possible.
So, on that note, this guide to remote education, which if you have not seen it, you should totally, or I would even open this up right now to follow along. But it is going to be
in the show notes,
displayed right at the top.
It's right at the top of our link. So
show notes, yeah, perfect. Just above the trombone steel cage death match. Let's talk. So the top is communication software and apps, and he talks. So we don't need to get into this part. He talks on about one-on-one video chat services that are easy, multi-person group video chat services, forum-style communications. There's a lot of really, really great stuff here. Let's jump, though, to the more creative and the X's and O's is really important, but then I really like the second half is how you are proposing that people use these tools in a creative manner to best teach the students. And so let's talk about some of these. And it's broken down also. You really could not have, I don't think, organized this document any better. It's awesome. It's like X's and O's at the top, and then it's traditional ideas, and then it's non-traditional ideas, which I think is just great. Let's talk about the traditional ideas first of all. We're not going to go through this whole document, or we'll be here until we're allowed to leave our houses. But the one-on-one lessons, what are the keys there?
So we could easily just hit each of these like underlined topics.
Yeah, great.
So
perfect.
So one-on-one is, basically how are you going to continue to do private lessons? Which, I mean, you've heard of Skype lessons. Like this is one that people have been utilizing, but there's just some like best practices that I've run into of like there's noise canceling. Like even the service we're using right now, it won't let you talk over each other. It's only meant for one person to be talking at a time. And so in order to play together, if you want your student to be listening to you, there's certainly a delay. So you got to be careful with that. But you can have, you can mute your own sound, or they can mute your sound, and basically like choose who is being listened to. And you can actually play together a little bit, for tone, for certain things like that. But you just kind of have to know that like it's only going to transmit one audio at a time, and just kind of get into that. Also, obviously, there's hardware that we all are just kind of like on both ends for any of this stuff that goes over the internet. For live stuff, like the internet for your students, the internet for you, the hardware for you, the hardware for them, it all plays into it. And so obviously, like, we want everybody to have great equipment. I mean, this interview right now is great. We all have great equipment and fast internet, it seems. So when it works, it's great, but you kind of just have to be ready to make do with what you got.
Yeah. And I like that you also suggest that if there's any connectivity issues at all, turn off your video unless you're actively demonstrating something, which is, which we figured out using, first it was Skype, and then it was, we figured that out long ago, that if we're ever having any problems, then we just kill it. It's a little bit more natural to do these interviews with the video up, because we can see each other, and you can see when someone's about to talk or whatever, but we kill the video right away if there's ever any doubt.
Yeah, and that's basically the approach I took to all of these, is like, if there's anything I picked up just by trial and error, to throw it in there so they don't have to go through what I went through to figure that out. So
and that's why this is a gift. You are a gift.
I'm a Christmas wish. Just remember that.
Lance and I were talking, and when we were deep in conversation, when Chris came on, and as soon as the video, we both were like, ah, and then we like actually started swearing at him before we even said hello, and he just sat there with a very, very funny smile on his face for about 12 seconds, and then he finally said, So this is how it's going to be.
So it's like this is it.
It's very funny. Yeah, so it's like this. Yeah, there you go. All right, next one is video masterclasses.
So, I mean, this is, I would say, less of a... masterclass. So this is this the one with Crowdcast? Yeah, so this, I would actually put this almost in a non-traditional idea, because so it's basically saying, like, you can have one person... I guess you could do it with Skype is really the reason why this isn't that crazy. You could have a group Skype session, have everybody mute their mics, and then whoever wants to plays, and the whole class can, talk about it. It can use the chat service to give feedback, and the professor can guide it, just honestly like you would be doing in your classes. So the masterclass thing is cool. You could also bring in guest artists to come in and do it. Right now, there's a list going around that I haven't put on mine yet, but once it gets kind of finalized, I will, of professional musicians who are out of work who would love to do this kind of thing, And so all of a sudden we have access to literally everybody, And it could be a huge resource all of a sudden to say, oh, that, that person that's way too busy to come give a masterclass now can come give a masterclass on Skype. And so there's a list that's being compiled right now of like these amazing orchestral musicians, and literally everybody is like, yeah, sure. I'm not doing anything. So that could be a really cool thing right now for students to have access to people that they usually wouldn't, even if it's just a Q&A,
Well, and the other, I've been in talks with somebody about swapping lessons. Just figured I've got 6 students, so I'll teach your students online this week, you teach mine this week, it won't cost anybody anything. I'm happy to, I'm glad that you're going to put that document together to try and get some money into the mouths of those folks who can't work. But if you don't have the bread, but you do have the ability to swap out lessons, that's another option.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Next is recording assessments.
Yeah, this is another one that I think people have been utilizing over the years. But, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. You have people send in recordings, and you assess them. There's the communication services in the first section. If you don't have one set up through the school or don't have one that works very well, some sort of forum where you can have all your students in one place communicating in real time is going to be really, really helpful. So definitely set something up. It can be literally just a Skype chat box, anything that all of your students are a part of or can be a part of. I mean, even like a group chat, if it's something that would be okay. I don't know. But, and make sure Android and iPhones are happy together on those platforms. But with any of these, you can add that element of like collaboration and community back into your studios. So yeah, recording assessments are pretty straightforward. Just have them play an etude and then tell them what to do. The next one is Jam of the Week or Etude of the Week, which is have you guys seen the Jam of the Week Facebook?
I hadn't until you shared it.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's this great thing where they just pick a tune every week, and people improvise on it, and it's a huge community. Farnell Newton runs it out in Seattle, and like it's been going on. I remember it started when I was in college, and it was crazy. Like everybody was doing it, and you can say if you want feedback, if you want critical feedback, or just people saying good job, keep it up. But it's really good. There's a trombone etude one as well. I'm sure there are others that I don't know about, but those Facebook communities are super helpful right around now. Listening assignments, kind of like a book report, I think of it as, is like, okay, everybody listen to this recording, and then, we can discuss it in one of the forums. That one, I think that would be actually really fun in a time like this where you could have everybody listen to something. And then research projects. You could do like a pretty formal research project on Skype. There's screen sharing on pretty much any of these, and you could literally have the students present something as formally, I have on here, as formally or informal as you want. So maybe they just go and learn everything about a topic and then talk about it like, there's 16 different kinds of bidets you can get. And so here's what I learned about that, and have students ask questions. So
I'm going to volunteer my friend Aaron Rosenthal's house. So you'd have to time it right, but like if you wanted to go and try it out, then I'm sure he'd be fine with that.
I hope I get the chance. That sounds amazing.
You got to work on getting a bidet endorsement.
Oh man.
Yeah.
They have the bidet company that I use has a it's Tushy Con, I think it's called. They literally have like a convention, and they had like adult film stars there, and like health experts, and it was I didn't go, but
those are the you always find adult film stars and health experts hanging, commingling. It's very commonly mixed groups. Moving right along, non-traditional ideas. The first one is virtual recitals.
Yeah. So there's only 4 points on here that I thought of. I was feeling creative enough for that. Virtual recitals, to my knowledge, it's never been done. But so with Crowdcast, which I talk about in the opening of this document, it's a paid service where you can have basically like a Facebook Live kind of thing that's a little bit more controlled. Although I suppose you could do it with something like that as well. I think Facebook has a share function where you can invite somebody to join. So it's possible you could even do it with that. But the idea with this, depending on what service you use, is to have a teacher come on and you schedule the recital, promote it on Facebook, and now all of a sudden the audience can be worldwide rather than just the couple old folks in the community of your university that come to everything, and the students that mandatorily have to be there. So
I love it whenever I'm somewhere for a residency, and I always go out of my way first to thank everyone who's required to be there. It means a lot, and then I go on from there.
Exactly.
Which some of them find really funny. I would if I was one of the required people who's like, I can't believe I'm at a freaking tuba recital, and then some of them are just like, I'm not sure if I should find that funny or not. So and then I find that extra funny.
Yeah.
So
That's a positive feedback loop for sure.
Yeah.
Only for you. Only for you.
Well, and that's the only person I'm worried about. So, there you go. You've put your finger on it. Anyway.
So virtual recital with Crowdcast or any of the ones where you can ask somebody to join. I wouldn't recommend something with Skype. I want something for this idea to be unlimited people can view. And that's the idea, and you just have everybody play their little... I mean, did you ever go to like a piano recital for young kids where the piano teacher has everybody play, but nobody plays anything together? They literally just sit up and play their
one
little
after
tune.
another.
And, good job, Susie. Like, that's... I would love it if we could have a virtual version of that. I don't think it's ever been done. Have you guys ever seen that done?
I don't often look for children's piano recitals online, so maybe...
I mean, the other thing is we could totally do this throughout universities where, like, we have some, great artists putting it on, and then we just have everybody submit 1 or 2 people to play the little, piece or etude, unaccompanied thing. I think it would be really fun to put something like that together. So that was the first idea.
Stuff like this is going to be popping up all over the place.
Yeah, I hope so.
Already... every university has announced a couple of weeks, and a bunch have announced for the entire rest of the semester. As we're sitting here recording this, I think, and I'm not a scientist, and I'm not privy to the boardrooms at all these schools. I think every university is going to go online for the rest of the semester in due time.
Oh yeah,
because that's just where we're headed right now. But I think that ideas like this are going to pop up. Yeah, I think that they're gonna pop up because it's like that's like an obvious idea. Like once you say it, it's like, yeah, I bet you're not the only person to ever brainstorm that. But yeah, nobody's followed through on it. So I think that people are going to start following through on it. So that and other things. So
yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of even doing like a group warm up where I just do my warm up and live stream. Right, let's do it. Come on.
Harry Waters announced that he's doing one every day at 11 a.m. Eastern, I think it is. So, which started yesterday when, if you're hearing this, the day that we released it. So,
I mean, I won't be up yet, but
right, you do the 11 p.m. one. We'll just divide up the day.
I'm going to tell.
I'll do it for the folks in Italy.
I'm going to tell Harry to do a second one, at 5 p.m., and it'll just be for you. So, yeah, it'll just be you and Harry. It'll be like free lessons with Harry.
Christopher Bill eye-opener.
Yeah.
Morning yoga with Christopher Bill.
Yeah, there you go. Watch parties.
So watch parties. Have either of you ever seen these? I mean,
I know of them. I haven't participated in them.
So there's a bunch of services where you can literally plug in YouTube videos. One of them, you can even plug in videos on your hard drive. So all the folks have to download the video first, but it syncs up the video with a little chat box on the side, or you could use your forum chat, whatever you set up, and just watch these videos. So I put the Bernstein, what was it called? The Young People's Concert, the Bernstein of New York Phil, you know? And that's a full concert that's just on YouTube, you know? That's great for even college students to watch if they hadn't seen it and talk about. So, like making this music accessible, it's a really good conversation starter and obviously a great concert. So, that and all of the YouTube videos out there. I mean, you could watch my videos
and there's,
if you
like
wanted.
You said, there's the Medici and there's the virtual concert hall, and there's just tons. And actually, if you are our music librarian at Carnegie Mellon, sent out a list to all of the students, faculty, and staff in the School of Music of all of the stuff that people already had access to by being enrolled at school. And by the way, now you might actually tune into some of this stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Here
are
the resources
I'll ask you
that
later,
you haven't been using.
Yeah. So have you used any of those? You had 4: Let's Gaze, SyncTube, Watch Together, and My Circle TV. Have you used any of those?
Let's articulate
moving on
a little bit. Let's Gaze is spelled Gaze. Okay, I just wanted to make that very clear because there's another service that is spelled differently.
I see.
That
they spelled let. How many ways could you spell let's? I don't understand. Anyway, keep going.
That's all.
I just taught Nicholas what an apostrophe was. Yeah, yesterday, literally. The learning never stops at the Hitz house.
No, I mean they all work quite well.
Okay.
Some of them better than others, just depending on how many people are on there at the time.
I see.
And some of them have chat services. Some of them have video service, so they're really meant for 2 people to watch something, and you could literally like hang out with each other while you watch. But they're really cool. And you just plug in the video, and then somebody hosts it, so they could hit play and pause, but it plays and pauses it for everybody. So, it's a good service. And as you alluded to, the Berlin Philharmonic has their whole digital archive free for the foreseeable future. So that kind of stuff is just kind of like now's the time to utilize that. But watch parties, I think, would be really fun. It's basically going to a concert, right? I mean, especially with these videos that are on YouTube, full Philharmonic concerts or any kind of concert that we just never sit down and watch a whole thing. We'll scrub through it and stuff. But
it's this. I don't know if it's hitting people yet, but one of the things I think they're going to start to yearn for is the social aspect of it, because we're isolated in our homes, and so the ability to reach out beyond your family and the short list of whoever's on your your phone on your text thread, so to just sort of reach out and listen with people. It's I'm kind of interested to see, maybe I'll hit you with this in the bonus episode, what lasting takeaways you think there will be after the dust settles on all this stuff. But we've only got 2 more things left in the sheet, so I keep slowing us down. I'll try not to.
Come on, old guy, slowing us down.
Wait a minute. Go back. What was that first thing you said about the 2 doob? Yube doob? No, the bidet.
Yube doob. Yubedoob.bidet. Yeah, there you go. Social media challenges.
Yeah, so this one, it's funny. There's been a little bit of controversy among my circles about this because there's a 100-day practice challenge going around. Have you guys seen that?
Yep.
And there are some people who are like, this is awesome.
How long does it last?
I don't know. I've never asked. So some people are like, this is great. It's getting students practicing. And other people are like, what if you practiced for 100 days and then put something out? Like that kind of thing.
What if both?
Yeah, sure.
What if
and
not so much with the snarky?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I get it. I get both. I mean, there's certainly a professionalism aspect where it definitely has to be framed correctly. You don't want to just put something out and be like, well, I'm practicing, so whatever. You want it to be like, this is a practice challenge and I'll be back tomorrow. And that, like, the whole like the art of it is the whole thing. It's not one tiny
Well, and
aspect.
the other thing is that, especially for a younger player, I'm going to try and keep this soapbox mercifully short. It is
Good,
the
'cause I'm
habit
gonna jump in
of
after you.
practicing. It is the act of creating the habit of practicing, which is the thing. It is that. That's the whole beginning and the middle and the end of it. That is the purpose. So that on day 101, they have already got the thing going, and that's just part of their day. So
Okay.
And there are many college professors that I have heard that that strongly suggest that their students not have websites because they haven't done enough yet to make a website, which like makes me want to like knock down buildings with my bare hands. You just put up a website. You don't have to wait. You should have a bio. Which your bio can be like about your personal journey. It's not a bad bio is just one that only lists who you've played with that's important and is in chronological order and is unremarkable. It's like every other bio. Throw it up. Throw up a couple of simple videos. I'm not saying like intentionally unpolished stuff, but this whole notion, and I think some of that, by the way, comes from people who don't want their students to say, this is my version of Daphnis and Chloe, and then that's going to reflect poorly on the professor, which again makes me want to like strangle people. So, but I'm socially distancing, so I can only strangle the two people I love the most in the world, so I'm not going to strangle anyone. So just put yourself out there. Just put yourself out there and don't listen to people that tell you that it has to be polished. I think that's hogwash. So
okay, I think you've convinced me because I'm kind of on both sides of it. I understand both points of view, but regardless, the social media challenge point here is to basically, I mean, I'm going to start doing one today, which is, I mean, it could be anything, but here, try to play this etude, try to play something, try to just practice for a day, whatever it is, and post it. So you're held accountable. Really, that's all. That's all this is posting for your friends. The line in here that I like is, all I know for sure is that if their friends will see it, they'll practice harder. So
right.
You know, if you convince them to do that, then they'll.
If you were super wigged out about it, you could post it to your Facebook group, and then it's just the people in your studio or the people in it. But I mean, man,
yeah. I think I agree with at this point. Yeah. At this juncture.
It's everything is about the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. If anyone is looking to, if you are a student or if you are a teacher or if you are a parent or you're a child or you're a human, this book will make you do whatever you do better. It's such a cliche, like just to call something life-changing. It literally changed my parenting, my teaching, my performing, my everything. And he talks, and there's a lot of science behind like habits. You have to establish habits by setting goals that it takes more work to not accomplish them than it does to accomplish them. And the example he uses is one push-up. If you decide that you're going to do one push-up a day, then it is harder for you. And it doesn't mean that you don't have some sort of a system where you're going to see that, you know, you're going to be reminded every day in some way that you need to be doing one push-up. But it takes longer to talk yourself out of doing a push-up than it does to just get on the floor and do one push-up. And the key is to, and then if you like that, you do like 2 push-ups a day. The key is not to go like, okay, I did that, now I'm going to do 15. Because if I don't think I could do 15 push-ups, but if I could, tomorrow my arms would be so sore it would be insane. So there's no way I could do 15. And I'm one of those people where if I don't want to do something, I'll just be like, well, I can't do 15, which means I'm not going to be able to do 15 a day, which means screw it. And then I do 0. I don't do 3, you know. And the physical exercise is not the best example for this because there is like, you know, working out, you're supposed to go heavy and then rest. And then, but you understand what I'm saying, you know. But a habit that you can't help but accomplish, then that becomes, the habit becomes something that becomes automatic and then you grow from there. But I find it very hard to change my actions through changing my thinking. It's much easier for me to change my thinking through changing my actions, but it's actually like moving my feet in some direction. is easier than just thinking, I'm going to learn how to video edit. I'm going to learn how to video edit. I'm going to learn how to video edit, rather than just spending 5 minutes where I can't even figure out how to upload the first damn video I want to edit. And then I'm just like, okay, good. That was today. I first explored this, and I'm going to try this again tomorrow. So anyway, stepping off soapbox now.
What's the book you mentioned?
Atomic Habits by James Clear. I listen to all books. I'm an Audible junkie, and I listened to that book, and I was less than an hour into it, and I went on to Amazon and I bought the hardcover copy of it along with it, because that's how good it is. It's like a reference manual, but it's also, and there's tons of science, but it's also very easy to digest science, and it's like a great narrative as well. So it's like tons of data, but for me, with a great story behind it, it's really, really, two huge thumbs up.
He's got a great newsletter as well. If you want to dip your toe in before you just want to get a taste of it, he's on a bunch of podcasts talking about these concepts. But there's a fantastic newsletter that I find sticks with me for many, many days after I read it.
His Twitter feed is also really good. At James Clear is just like one of those feeds that he'll ask very thought-provoking questions, and then the replies that he gets from them. There are the Twitter accounts that just ask a lot of questions just to get user engagement, and really the answers are nothing. Like, he asks really thought-provoking questions that then that people answer in creative ways, and it's great. Yeah, he's good stuff. I want to be James Clear when I grow up.
There's another book that I came into a few years ago called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Yep. Yeah. I read that one. Yep. Yeah, it's really good.
Cool.
Yep.
So that's
right.
Social media challenges.
And then that's social media challenges, and somehow I wound up both of the old dudes, and I just had to wait it out. So and now we're good. All right, virtual choir recording projects.
So if anybody doesn't know me or what I do, it's me and what I do. Multi-track recording, so that's recording one person many times, or lots of people one time, and putting them together.
Sorry to interrupt you quickly. If you are having watch parties with your studio, if you're not familiar with Chris Bill, first of all, some of your students are going to already be very familiar with him. His videos are entertaining as hell. They're super high quality. The playing, the video, everything, absolutely put him on the list of things that you should be sharing with your students. This is for little students, college students, whatever. So, all right, I felt comfortable interrupting you to plug the crap out of what you do. So
I should
now I'm going to
get really angry. How dare you? I was gonna. Yeah.
Good day, sir.
That's very kind of you to say.
Man.
So I'll be making a lot more videos now that I'm home. So definitely go check those out. But yeah, so there's the multi-track recording where there's multiple versions of one person or lots of students included. And so yesterday I put together this document because of the tens of thousands of people who've seen this one, a subsect have emailed and said, I really want to try to put something together where my students all record, but I don't even know where to start. And so I put together this other huge document, which we don't have to go into, but I talk about my workflow and then really dig in. And there's stuff here that, even just writing it down for me, I was like, oh yeah, this is how to do it. Creating a list of every single person that you check off at every single section before you send out materials, after you get the materials back, after you do the audio editing, after you do the video editing, just to be organized with that stuff. Because if there's 4 people, it's fine. But anything more than 8 or 9, you start to, oh wait, did I have this person? Did I get the recording? Was something wrong? Just have a list where you can do all that stuff. So stuff like that, best practices again for this kind of thing, and all of the software that I use. I also talk about the other industry standard software and free versions of software to get you started. So not necessarily stuff that I've used, but versions of that. So, and as I say in both of these documents, if you get to the end of both of these and you still have questions, please reach out. It's contact@classicaltrombone.com. I've been answering questions all week. It's been actually it makes me feel important, and for the first time in my life. So, Yeah.
What is this? What am I, your shrink? What's going on here? Yeah.
It's like
we
maybe
we don't want to hear.
just ask a question.
Your feelings.
Even if you don't have a question, just ask one anyway. It'll make.
How do you get blood stain out of carpeting?
So about these bidets.
That's right. So there's a link to this to both documents, and I've put them.
Yeah.
Actually, they'll be right at the top of the show notes as well as in the links. So it'll be. Hopefully, we'll spread some love your way.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not completely altruistic, as there's my lesson courses are listed here, which I'm giving free versions out if people need them. And also, if you want to do one of these multi-tracking things, as I say, like it is a big thing to take on. As I say in the first thing, you're going to take on the roles of an arranger, producer, audio engineer, video engineer, and you're going to be dealing with logistics and troubleshooting. How to say the word troubleshooting.
That's why it takes you so long to make your videos.
That's right.
Speak. He's
if
climbing
you
up.
had only 1% of the footage of me trying to do my intros and outros, you would see me, swearing at a brick wall. So anyway, if there's any of this that you need help with, I'm doing consulting through all of this. If you have a budget, if not, just reach out, because I'm here to help. If you want me to actually do the work for you, I will need to be paid, but I would love to do it, so all that.
And also, at the very end of this document, it says, P.S. If you found this helpful and want to support, feel free to hop over to Patreon with a smiley face. He does great, especially if you are at all able, and you want an artist like Chris to be making more of this stuff, then and also I will speak for him if you are not able, because there's a lot of people that right now that can't even dream of giving somebody $5 a month right now, because it's all hands on deck. I get it. But if you've got it and you want to keep him being able to justify spending as much time and effort and energy as he does, then then go ahead and support him. So cool. Well, we are, speaking of Patreon, we are going to we're going to sign off here. This was a little bit of a longer episode, but it was perfect. It's almost like it took us like a half hour to get to the actual content. That might have something to do with it. But it's funny. Some people love the super long intros, and then other people don't. So
they can fast forward. Their fingers aren't broken.
Except for the people whose fingers are broken, and now you're just being insensitive. So,
problem
anyway,
the good news is they can't write to us to complain anyway.
My name is Christopher Bill, and I'd like to apologize.
Actually, if you thought the intro was too long, then you can contact Lance. Actually, fields all of those emails. His email is contact@classicaltrombone.com. So
thank you for that.
If you think we laugh too much, then contact@classicaltrombone.com.
That's right.
We are going to have Chris hang on here for the bonus episode for our Patreon patrons. And speaking of which, we are actually going to be having some Patreon-only hangs very soon. We are probably going to get through this next week, where Lance and I are both figuring out how to take our entire college studios at Carnegie Mellon for Lance and at Shenandoah Conservatory for me online. So we've got our plates full, but we're going to be doing some Patreon-only hangs with some of our famous knucklehead friends who are suddenly free like the rest of us. So if you want to learn more about that, head to patreon.com/thebrassjunkies, and you will also find 1 week from today. If you're listening to this on Tuesday when it came out, then you will hear a little bit more with Mr. Christopher Bill. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us today on short notice. I mean, I know that you're just home, but
what am I doing?
Yeah, I know, but it's and seriously, Lance spent a while saying this, and I already said it. I'm going to say it again. Thank you for putting this together. It really, it's a gift. It's awesome, and there's a whole lot of. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, and I host and edit a podcast. I mean, like I do tech stuff, right? I know I do nothing, like I don't do video and I don't do multi-track video. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I don't touch, but I'm familiar with like RSS feeds, and I can, I know how to copy and paste code, and I mean, I can mess around with that a little bit. And it's overwhelming for me to be using a platform, Zoom, that I've used all the time, and it's still like, wait a minute, I'm thinking about this. There's a lot of band directors. There's a lot of general music teachers. There's a lot of college professors who don't do any of that and are having to face the same thing that I am. Oh, by the way, while there's like a global pandemic going. I mean, if you could just go anywhere and this was the case and everybody was healthy and nobody was afraid of anything, then this would be like one of the most daunting things to ever face education at one time. And then you add that entire other layer, which different people are at different parts of that journey. This is a gift. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Can I just make one other point, which is...
Please.
Okay, good, because I was gonna.
I mean, we're gonna edit it out, but that's fine.
So I've been working from home for the better part of a decade, and... it is not something that comes naturally. You know, there's this feeling like, especially for a musician, that if you're not working 8 hours a day, you're slacking off, and like,
right.
We can't do that. You know, some people can. Sometimes I do work through the night, and I get a ton done in a very short amount of time, all packed together. But I guess my point for a mental health plea for musicians who feel like if they're not working this entire time, or practicing or whatever it is, like, take breaks. You know, if you feel like mentally you're not doing it, it's okay to take breaks. The thing that really unlocked this for me was when I found out that in a normal 8-hour day for like a desk job, do you know how much productivity there is? It's under 2 hours.
Is it really?
So yeah. So that kind of thing is like, oh well, you know, they're working desk jobs for 8 hours. I can you know, play my instrument for 8 hours. But no, like, take breaks. It's okay. It's kind of the push-up thing. Like, it's the only way to actually get in there is to just do a little bit, see how you feel. If you get, you know, down the wormhole, you'll work 8 hours and you won't even notice it. But if you know, feel that mental exhaustion, like, take a break. It's okay. It's okay to take a break, even for musicians, especially if you're working at home and like this is your environment, like, because you can't leave work, so you have to make that space for yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. Good.
There you go. I'm glad we saved the good tip for the very last thing I said.
Yeah, right. All you people that bailed in the 28th minute of the intro, you're regretting that, aren't you?
Yeah, you deserve broken fingers.
All right, thank you, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Lance.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
And that is going to do it for another episode of The Brass Junkies. You've been listening to The Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to hear the bonus episode featuring today's guest, please visit patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn how you can support the show and instantly access all bonus materials, as well as gain access to a special patron-only Facebook group. The Brass Junkies is produced by the amazing, wonderful, and truly inspirational Will Houchin. The theme music was composed by Fernando Dados and performed by Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. We are at Pray for Jens on Twitter and Instagram and have a Facebook page at facebook.com/prayforjens. You can find out more about the Brass Junkies and all the other Pedal Note Media podcasts at pedalnotemedia.com. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.